The Cold War, an open yet restricted rivalry fought from 1947 to 1962 that developed after World War II between the United States and the Soviet Union and their respective allies. The Cold War was waged on political, economic, and propaganda fronts and had only limited resource to weapons. Life during the Cold War was anything but normal for American citizens. Today I will be interviewing Ronald T Regan, a U.S. Army veteran who served 6 years in Germany and Vietnam from 1965 to 1968 and from 1968 to 1971. He served 12 years in the Mississippi National Guard in the Army Infantry. In Vietnam, he was an infantry company commander. Mr. Terry was born in the year 1942 and was faced with the pressures of the Cold War following him throughout his childhood and young adult life. Today, he will be giving us his point of view of life during the Cold War by answering 10 questions I have prepared.
Security Federal Savings Bank is always pleased to provide virtually every banking service you could ever need. But more than that, we are proud to offer a relationship with you, your family, or your company. We've been here supplying just what you need and building a trust, a relationship. And that's something hard to find these days. Our bankers are here for you, here to help. If you are interested in a relationship, come to the friendliest bank in town, Security Federal Savings Bank, member FDIC.
The MyUsage app is a way to conveniently pay online, anytime, day or night. You can also come by any Caney Fork Electric office and sign up for the prepay option available using the MyUsage app. Know exactly how much electricity is used each day and the cost. Best of all, no monthly bill. You can set up email or text alerts, keep track of your usage, and pay your bill, all with the MyUsage app from Caney Fork. Caney Fork Electric, keeping you informed.
Douglas and Lanier, that's where I choose to be. Douglas and Lanier, that's the agency for me.
For rock-solid insurance coverage or sound financial planning for my family's future, Douglas and Lanier is where I choose to call home.
Grace Family Pharmacy announces new medication packaging service. It provides a simpler, safer medication experience through convenient, personalized packaging using the latest in pharmacy robotics. We're located at 357 West Main Street. Our phone number is 931-473-6418.
McMinnville, you're a great place to be. McMinnville, Tennessee.
We had just come out of World War II. Our country was, at that time, probably the most powerful country in the world. We were a superpower then. We were the only ones then that had a nuclear bomb. And then when Russia developed a nuclear bomb, then tensions became even worse, because I remember the Berlin crisis, and that occurred not long after the end of the World War II, and that was when the four major powers, Russia, Great Britain, the United States, and France, divided up the city of Berlin, and this is when Russia cordoned off the quarter of the city of Berlin, and we had what was called the Berlin Airlift, and it was a time of, I can remember my dad talking about it. It was a very tense time, and you know, we grew up with a sense of pride in I guess that's probably why I may have ended up joining the Army.
On July the 14th, 1949, the Soviet Union exploded its first atomic bomb. The 4 years of American nuclear monopoly were over. To Western eyes, Stalin's power to enforce his threats seemed immeasurably greater.
12 nations combine in a united front from the Tropic of Cancer to the North Pole. Signing Great Britain into this group of nations are Ernest Bevin.
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization drew Europe and America together.
A time where our country was constantly, we weren't at war because they called it the Cold War, but we were at war with words, and typically this permeated through the whole community. I mean, it was something that was constantly, our parents were aware of it. The children were constantly aware of it, and even as we grew up, and I can remember even in high school.
In Betty's school, they are talking about the atomic bomb too. Betty is asking her teacher, how can we tell when the atomic bomb may explode? And her teacher is explaining that there are two kinds of attack, with warning and without any warning. You may be in your schoolyard playing when the signal comes. That signal means to stop whatever you are doing and get to the nearest safe place fast. Always remember, the flash of an atomic bomb can come at any time, no matter where you may be.
Yes, we had air raid drills quite often, several times a week. And when we had the drills, I can remember we would have to get under our desks, cover our head and our neck. Later on, if we were out on the playground, we would have to run into the school and into the hallway, and we had designated hallways we had to go to, and we would have to line up against the walls and cover our head and our neck and kneel down.
That's why these children are practicing to duck and cover, just as you do in your school. We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous. Since it may be used against us, we must get ready for it, just as we are ready for many other dangers that are around us all the time.
As kids, I can remember that we lived in a rural place and we had a hill right behind our house, and I can remember the Dog Hill Gang and the Spring Street Gang, which I belonged to. We would go up on the hill and we would dig bomb shelters, and we would have contests to see who could dig the best and the neatest bomb shelter, and we would have everything in there. We would steal all kinds of food from the house and take it up to our bomb shelter. I mean, we had snacks. We didn't have the kind of snacks they all have today, but we had snacks. We had jars of peanut butter and jelly, and we had saltine crackers, and we had them all stored up there, and we would take jars of Kool-Aid up there, and we would hide them in our bomb shelters. And that's where we played all the time, because we were sure that we were going to get bombed any day, any minute. So every time we got out of school, we'd run to the bomb shelters and play. So we made a game out of it, but it was really a serious thing that we everyone participated. I can remember I was in college, and I never will forget when our country was, when President Kennedy was the president, and he declared a quarantine. He didn't call it a blockade, but he declared a quarantine around Cuba, because Russia at that time was in the process of building missile sites in Cuba. And Kennedy declared that they would have to take those out, and so it was a pretty tense moment. I can remember because I was in college, and the defense establishment had what they called DEFCON ratings, and a DEFCON was a DEFCON 1 was when we were at war, and a DEFCON 2 was when we were right on the brink of war. And as it progressed down, it was less dangerous. But during the missile crisis, we were at a DEFCON 2, and everybody, I mean, we all just thought that we were going to be at war with Russia. I mean, they had nuclear bombs, we had nuclear bombs, and it was a tense time for everybody, for the whole world. It was.
Good evening, my fellow citizens. This government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba. Within the past week, unmistakable evidence has established the fact that a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on that imprisoned island. The purpose of these bases can be none other than to provide a nuclear strike capability against the Western Hemisphere.
It was a commonplace discussion at our home. I can recall my dad talking about how destructive the nuclear bomb was that we dropped on Japan during World War II, and how it killed just hundreds of thousands of people. And we were frightened that that Russia would do the same thing to us. It was a scary time.
What to do? It could hurt you in different ways. It could knock you down hard or throw you against a tree or a wall. It is such a big explosion, it can smash in buildings and knock signboards over and break windows all over town. But if you duck and cover like Bert, you will be much safer. You know how bad sunburn can feel. The atomic bomb flash could burn you worse than a terrible sunburn, especially where you're not covered.
Okay, I can remember as a child, though, and just one last note, I can remember one of the funnest things that we did was that I joined the Civil Air Patrol, and when I think I was 11 years old, and they recruited kids. They went to all the Boy Scout troops, and they recruited us all to join the Civil Air Patrol, so that we could, and they trained us on how to recognize different types of airplanes, particularly Russian airplanes. So I would run out in the backyard with my binoculars, and I'd be looking all over the skies for Russian bombers. That's the truth.